Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out tonight. This is Main Point, New Holland. For everybody watching online, we actually start at 6:30 with food, 7 o'clock worship, and then 8 o'clock we get the word. And I don't know if Frank would ever hear me, expect me to say these words, but it is my distinct privilege and honor to introduce Frank Gaston tonight. I haven't known Frank through his whole journey, but I remember when he just got clean, and it's been a process, and I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of what God's done to you. I'm so proud that you surrendered it to Him and let Him handle it. So let's give it up for Frank tonight.
Hello, everybody. Those that don't know me, my name is Frank Gaston. I'll be giving my testimony tonight, but my testimony is really, it's a redemption story. It's not about me. It's about what God's done in my life. Some of the songs, you guys online didn't get to see it, but I played some songs. One of them was I Surrender. The only time that anything has changed in my life is when I surrendered. I played another song called Cycles. I was in cycles in my life, in my addiction. I kept doing the same thing. JD mentioned something that we heard in the song. The enemy remembers our mistakes even when we don't. And he did. And I kept making them same silly mistakes in my addiction over and over again. Again, I only got here from surrendering, for asking for help from others. And that's the other part of this redemption story. I didn't do this. First of all, Jesus did it.
Jesus, amen.
But my words of encouragement, once you guys hear my testimony, is I had to get help from other people. I could not do this by myself. I surrounded myself with places like Main Point. Brother Floyd has been a big part of my recovery and my walk with Christ. I went to Celebrate Recovery meetings, AA meetings, anything to get help. I found my place in my church. I surrounded myself with people that wanted to build me up and not tear me down anymore. And that's the only way that I got to where I am today. So this isn't a glorification of myself. Left to my own devices, I'm a terrible individual. I'm a sin, flesh, carnal individual. But God. But God. And that's my testimony. Right. So again, my name is Frank Gaston. I was born and raised in San Diego, California. I am 47 years old. I was born into addiction. My father and my biological mother were both addicts. My mother was an intravenous heroin and cocaine addict while pregnant with me. So I was literally born into addiction. I had no choice. My father took me from my mother at the age of 2. He suffered from alcoholism and addiction as well. So I remember going back and forth a lot of my life. I remember my dad, and my childhood's a blur. You know, we had trauma responses, right? We blocked a lot of that out. I don't remember certain elementary schools, where I was living, but a lot of in and out. I remember my dad being gone a lot, but I always thought, you know, when you're a kid, like, he's on vacation or he's on work. Now grown and being in my own addiction, he was in jails, rehabs, and institutions. So there was large sums of time when my father wasn't around. At certain points in time, my grandmother had to raise me, who was also an alcoholic. There is a generational curse, right?
Amen.
Now, I'm not even going to play the victim or be mad at those people, because each one of those only knew what they were taught, right? My father was an alcoholic and addict because his mother was an alcoholic, right? My father lost his father when he was 2 years old, so my father grew up with no father. How can a man that doesn't have a father know how to be a father, right? So I can't even be mad at him for that. He was gone a lot. My grandmother was raising me at certain points in time. I remember being introduced into the foster care system at an early age because my father, on Christmas Eve, decided it'd be a good idea to get really, really drunk and then go for a drive. There was one car on the road. This is in San Diego. He hit the one car at the one red light on Christmas Eve at midnight, and then took off. I jumped out of the car. In his drunkenness, I'd been through 3 windshields, 5 car accidents, and then that little incident that night. I didn't get in the car again this time because I was scared. So police came, obviously had to take me, and that's when I was introduced to the foster care system, unfortunately. Back and forth with my dad here and there. A lot of it's a blur. I ended up living with my aunt and other family members when I could, when I was in and out of foster homes, foster care, social services. Some of you guys will remember this part. I went to one foster care center when I was 17, which is pretty old foster care, right? And they would let you go out. And I seen the fence. I was like, I'm out of here. Not because I'm Mexican, guys. That's not the only reason why I never jumped the fence. But I took off. You guys can laugh. It's okay. Don't be scared. So, and the sad thing was, is I was in such a hurry to go see my dad again, who was always drinking. But I just knew that love, right? I just wanted to be around my dad. I'm sorry, my timeline's wrong. I was 15. My father passed away when I was 15 years old. He drank himself to death. Cirrhosis of the liver. I still to this day don't know my biological mother. My dad got married when I was 2. When I was 2, I always thought that woman was my mother. Until another time where she had taken me from him. We were up in North California, running from him, I didn't even know. He found us, we were hiding in a van, like she's crying. And I kept saying, Mom, 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 Mom. And she freaked out on me. I'm not your mother. Oh, wow, okay. Wasn't prepared for that. I was at like 12 years old. That's when I stopped staying with her because she wasn't my biological mother. But trauma response, right? So I have all this going on in my childhood. My father passes away when I'm 15. He actually died in front of the hospital because he didn't have insurance. Cirrhosis of the liver, jaundice, yellow. I didn't know how to handle that, right? I'm 15 years old. We had just moved a couple years into a really rough neighborhood in San Diego. I don't have a father. I have no male role model. And the role models in my neighborhood were gang members and drug addicts and drug dealers, right? So I took to that. That's where I was taught, men don't cry. We don't need each other. You don't ask another man for nothing. You do that flex, right? We're all tough. And I got myself in a lot of trouble. That got me into that Polinsky Receiving Center when I was 17. That's why I did like the Mexican jump the fence. I was like, I'm out of here. I was in full-blown methamphetamine addiction at the age of 15. I searched for meth to feel better, right? We cover our pain. At the age of 18, I was arrested for the first time. Possession, intent to sale, a bunch of stuff, right? Doesn't even matter. I got in trouble. And I got to realize real fast how much of a tough guy I wasn't. Go to a real jail in a big city, being about $110, strung out on meth. You'll find out exactly who you are real fast. It was explained to me several times. So I didn't have anywhere to go. Every year, for the next 5 years, I continued to go back to jail. Probation violations, I didn't check in, I didn't have nowhere to go. It was kind of, I've been a part of a bad system for a long time in my life. I'm released from jail, but I would tell them I don't have anywhere to go, so what am I going to do? They don't care, you're out of here. Then they would violate me for not checking in or having an address. So I'd get out, I'd go get high and run and like, okay, I'm going to wait till they catch me. I did that till I was 22 years old, until I met the mother of my daughter, Casey. She got pregnant and I said, okay, that's it, I'm done. I'm going to start. Like, now I got to be an adult real fast. Zero experience. I don't know how to be an adult. I don't know how to be a parent. I've got some terrible examples of parenting, right? But I tried. Sherry passed away when Casey was 4 years old. She had 2 older sisters, so my whole life was taken away from me again. The whole family was disrupted. I started drinking real heavy. So now, as long as I'm not doing meth, right, that's okay, I can drink booze, right, because I was never an alcoholic. But the sad thing is my father was an alcoholic, and I promised myself, I'll never be like him. I lied. I ended up being just as bad as him, if not worse. Tried drinking myself to death. I had to give my daughter over to her grandparents because I knew I was going to die. I was actually trying to die, right, so I'm drinking myself to death. That was a terrible blur of a year, maybe a little longer, and I found somebody that wanted to help me, and he helped me get to AA meetings and get back on my feet, and it took me another year to get my daughter back, and I started getting my life on track. I had 3 years sober, met my wife, Carrie. Shortly after we got married, got our own place, and I thought it was okay. What's the word? Complacency. I thought I had it all figured out. I remember going to the liquor store, and I seen them little Jack Daniel bottles. And I was like, I could have one of those. It's been a long time, you know, as long as I control it. And then I asked for validation from my wife, who doesn't know nothing about me and my mess. She's like, oh, do you think you're good? I'm like, yeah. I've been dry for 3 years. I can just have one of those. That won't be a problem. And I relit that demon again. So now I'm drinking real heavy. We're married. I get in some trouble in San Diego. Her brother's like, do you think you guys would want to come out to Pennsylvania? My wife's from Ephrata. She left when she's like 16. How she got to California, I don't know. God, right, appointed us. She's from Ephrata. I never heard of. I always laughed at her. I was like, Ephrata? What is this? Where do you live? Where are you from? He told me to come out, and I came out and checked it out. He flew us out for a week. Now again, I stirred up a whole bunch of stuff in San Diego, so I'm like, maybe it would be good for me to get up out of here. And I'm looking at the horse and buggies and houses and all this space, and at the time it was Craigslist, right? I'm looking for apartments or whatever, $600, plenty of jobs that pay $10 an hour. I'm like, yeah, we can do Pennsylvania. This is great. So I decided to move out here. But wherever you go, there you are. I brought Frank with me, so I'm still drinking heavy. I thought if I get out of San Diego, you know, that was the problem. And when I came out here, I seen these little country bumpkin towns. I'm sorry, but y'all are slow out here and small. I was like, this is cool. I'm not going to get in trouble out here. That wasn't true at all. That was not true at all. Drinking was real bad. I ended up having to have surgery. I had diverticulitis, which is like polyps. I had to have a bunch, well, it's supposed to be one small surgery to get rid of it, right? It ended up being 3 surgeries. I died 2 times there. Staples, I had to have a whole pigskin graft put in. And while I'm having all this, the doctors are giving me lots of opiates. I never knew about painkillers. I did street drugs, right? So I'm thinking whatever the doctor gives me, that's cool. And they're giving me lots, guys, lots and lots. And I'm eating them like Skittles. Well, now I have a new addiction. So I started with meth, became an alcoholic. Now I'm an opiate addict and I didn't even know it. That's great. Tried to get back to work. I ended up hurting my back because I didn't have any core, right? I never did any physical therapy for my stomach. Went back to work, and it was easy to go to work because I still had lots of opiates. So I wasn't hurting. I'd go to work on pain pills, right? Threw my back out. Look, dislocated my sacrum iliac, which is your hip, right? Popped out. Guess what they suggested, guys?
Painkillers.
Painkillers. More painkillers. So now I'm really strung out on opiates. I didn't know it until all the doctors took me off after about 2.5 years. While I wasn't working, I'm freaking out because we're not paying rent, everything's bad, right? My family doctor says for your stress and anxiety, I'm going to give you benzos. There's this other pill called Xanax. I'll give you as many as you need. It's going to help for your anxiety. So now I have a benzo addiction on top of my opiate addiction. I get back into methamphetamine somehow. A buddy, right, comes over and is like, hey, you know, this will help you. You won't be dope sick off the opiates. Try some of this. And I did. And that led to 2.5 years of nonsense. Throughout this process, I'm destroying my marriage, destroying my life, my finances. Now, remember, I know nothing of God, you guys. I never did. I didn't have any of that in my upbringing. The only thing I knew of God is when I was 15 years old and my dad died, I challenged him because I had heard of God, right? And I remember cursing him out and challenging him. How would you take my dad away? How could you do that to a kid, you know? At church, I was mad at God. So I'm destroying everything in my life. It just got bad. I ended up getting raided. Right? The police came and found my wife's guns that I got charged for and a bunch of nonsense. But the bottom line is I had put myself that by running in my addiction. I was messing with people I shouldn't have. I was doing things that I wasn't supposed to. I was in my addiction. But as I've heard in other people's testimony, that was my grace. I needed to go to jail. You know, and I didn't see it then. I was mad because somebody had snitched on me and called the cops and all that, and I'm mad at them. And in all reality, it was the beginning of saving my life. I got bailed out. My wife gave up her 2012 Camaro to bail me out. Yeah. And within 2 weeks, I was back in jail. I got caught stealing a bag of dog food at Walmart, guys. So my wife lost a 2012 Camaro, and I still have to go back to Lancaster County Prison for $19.95 bag of dog food, which is very light on all the things I should have been thrown back in jail. I'm in jail, and I meet this man named Bob Severson from Restart.
We love you, Bob.
Love you, Bob. So I'm hearing about this God camp, right? And I don't know much about God, but in jail, that's how God works. I'm signing up for church and small Bible studies to get out of my hut. I just want to get out of the cell. And I'm learning a little bit, right? A little bit. Some of the songs. That Cycles is actually where I heard it. It was the first time I was in Lancaster County Prison. And I'm learning and I'm learning and I'm hearing and I'm talking to Bob. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try this God camp. It was state penitentiary or 6 months at God camp. Let's go try God camp. Let's see what this is all about. And I met Jaime and the Restart staff, and it was a lot. Jaime is intense, especially if you don't know Jesus very well, right? So I'm learning, but the problem is it wasn't Restart, it wasn't Jaime, it wasn't all the people that were teaching me. I had reservations. So I was thinking I could still do a little. I can't sell meth, and I can't have guns on me. I learned my lesson.
You better give him some love too, he's watching.
Who?
Jaime.
So I had reservations, and when I left, I relapsed right away. I think it was the next day. There was other people in situations, but whatever, I'm responsible for me. I relapsed. So in 3 months, 4 months time, my addiction was worse than it was the last time. I ended up getting arrested at the Lancaster County riots. You guys might not even know about it, if it was a real thing. There was 13 people that got $1 million bail. I was one of the lucky 13. I had 8 felony charges, arson, this and that. None of it was true. I was down there high, videotaping, because I had just given my probation officer a dirty urine. There was COVID, right? So there wasn't no PO test, no nothing. So again, in these 3 or 4 months, I am back in my addiction 100%. There's no accountability, no one to check on me. I'm bad. Probation officer says you have to go to a rehab. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna get really, really high before I go turn myself in. Somebody says it's a good idea, let's go check out the Lancaster riots, because their cops are shooting people and people are burning stuff down. I'm like, yeah, I should go check that out, right? In this process, I sustained multiple injuries from Lancaster County Police. Again, I'm not mad at them, that was myself, I shouldn't have been there. God was slowing me down. I shouldn't have been there. I got grace and mercy one more time. So now I have all these charges, I'm in trouble, and I get the charges dropped because I wasn't lighting stuff on fire, I wasn't doing anything, I was tweaking with a cell phone recording. That really was no charge. Shouldn't have been there. All the charges have dropped, but I still have to go to rehab. So I thought I got away with it. My probation officer was going to be cool. He's like, yeah, as soon as I get out of the hospital, so where do you need to go? I couldn't find anywhere to go. I was trying to beat it before I got caught, and I called Jaime. And I still remember him saying, are you serious this time? And I thought about it. I was like, am I? And I started crying because my life was unmanageable. I had to surrender, and I said, yeah, I am. And he told me he wasn't going to be easy on me, and he wasn't. I knew better, right? So he took me back even when I didn't deserve it. When I got back to Restart, nobody judged me. I went back to my home church, which is Lighthouse, and everybody there had seen me in the paper and the news and everything, and there was no condemnation. I had people that supported me. So remember when I said I didn't do this on my own, it wasn't me. I am super thankful for Restart Training Center. I'm thankful for Jaime, brother. I do appreciate you, and I love you. Like I couldn't have done this without you. After my restoration, I stayed there for about 18 months because I didn't want to go back home. I was scared. I needed to learn how to live, how to recover, how to be a human being, because I didn't know how, guys. I went back home. My wife gave me another chance. My kids gave me one more chance, but it took 2 years, guys, for everyone to even have some kind of trust in me. Because all I had shown was lies, right? Addiction. I'm gonna get better, I'm gonna whatever. So it took a while, and I get that. But in 2 years, I moved back home. My family started being around me. I went to Reading and took a job as a certified recovery specialist. I've been pursuing helping men in recovery. I went up there for a year, learned a lot about addiction, and then recently I got a unique opportunity to go back to the same place that saved my life. Jaime Santiago offered me a position back at Restart to be the assistant director, where now I can pour into these guys' lives at the same place that saved my life.
So awesome.
A place that when I said in the beginning of this testimony, that's not me. It took people that had to help me. Jaime didn't have to give me a second chance. I blew it. Like, if anything, I was an embarrassment to his program. Here I am out on the news, right? Like, I knew better. He gave me a second chance. My church has helped me out so much. There's been so many people that have built me up. I've walked to people like Floyd, who gave me Bible verses. I didn't have any prepared, but in some of my roughest times, this dude's answer to me was James 1:1. Counts it all joy. And I struggled with that. Like, you guys are laughing. I wasn't. I didn't think that was funny. I'm hurting. I'm frustrated. The Bible verse that I do have that's kind of my life verse is Proverbs 26:11. You guys have it? As a dog returns to its vomit, so a fool repeats his foolishness. When I think about going back to that life, I remember this verse, and I literally imagine a dog eating its own vomit. You always have it. It's gross, right? Yeah, that face. Exactly. I get that in my head, and I'm going to be like, am I going to be that dog? I already learned my foolishness, right? I relapsed. I did that. Me, on my own, that's what I do. Like I said, I'm a sinful person by nature. But God, Jesus Christ has absolutely saved my life, restored me. This is a redemption story. I am now happily married. I have my kids, and my kids' kids come over and hang out. I take them to Chuck E. Cheese. I do all the cheesy, small-town stuff that I used to laugh about. I do now, and I love every bit of it. I'm considered a safe person by my family. I'm considered a safe person by my church. Floyd has given me an opportunity to run this Main Point New Holland. I have help. I have other people that say, yes, Frank, we'll come along you. I am enrolled in Lancaster Bible College. I'm going to be graduating December with a Biblical Studies and Pastoral Duties degree. But God, again, I never would have thought I'd be doing anything else. And again, I'm not bragging on me because I didn't do this. I had a lot of really cool people help me to get here, and I'm appreciative. I don't really have much more. That's it. That's my redemption story. Here I am.
JD, are you okay if I shut down? Is that all right?
Yeah.
Or are we playing around?
No, you
I
got it.
won't take it.
You're good.
All right. I just want to say